I am very much against the idea that marketing sells stuff to people that they don't need. I don't believe that for a minute. Look at Liquid Death. They just became a $1 billion valuated company for putting water in a can. Find me the innovation in that. You can't. It's all a brand story. Yeah, my belief is that if you're not visible, you can't be profitable the way you need to be. I got on to prove to somebody that TikTok wouldn't work for me. So I got on and I did a video, and the first video got like 300 things, and boy, did he know me. I was like, well, shit, I can do better than that. So I went back on and I did another one, and that one got like 1,500 views. And the next thing you know, it was 3,000, and then it was 10,000, and I filled 3 months of my calendar in 2 weeks.
What a brand, what a brand, what a brand, what a mighty good brand. Say it again now. What a brand, what a brand, what a brand, what a mighty good brand.
All right, so we're in North Carolina, Toronto. We're getting together on brand.
And let's talk about brand.
The two of my favorite videos of yours, I wanted you to unpack further. That's why I had my little show notes. But I also wanted to talk about China, because I thought you had one of the best perspectives on that. And it's really unveiled itself to, for you to have really broke the news on the video scripts almost being exactly the same from the factories.
It was kind of an interesting time, but it was what made sense. The question now is, like, I'm waiting for a ChinaDirect.com to come out. Like, that would be the logical next step, right? Like,
isn't that what AliExpress is?
Yeah, but I mean, I think this would be an opportunity for them to use language that was even more specific about it. That was like, hey, go around. But I find it really interesting that the focus was on the transparency, not the fact that when China did that, they basically broke every rule, which is why everybody's so frustrated with China in the first place. Like, they basically said, forget any NDAs we have in place, forget about any agreements that we have in place. We're just going to knock all of the brands that have been hiring us to do this for all this time out of the way. And we're just going to go to the American public and say, by the way, you can buy it direct from us and you can buy it for less. Like, that was the very thing that everybody was.
That was the fear. That's why this bubbling conversation has been happening. The only thing that for me, I wanted to unpack with you from a brand perspective is I'm like 50-50 on one hand, it's like we've been ignoring the reality that it's been changing, because there's just anywhere I go, the person that, like, at the nail salon, like, her shirt is Chanel. You know, like, her bag behind her is Dior, you know, like, it's at a place now where, like, what these brands represent, the Uber Eats driver the other day had a Louis Vuitton shirt on. Like, it's gotten to a point where it's like, we knew that supply chain has changed, that access has changed, that, like, the ability to do fakes, but, like, also really good fakes has changed. The question is, like, if we've known this for years and now this has come forward, where does it go? Like, I want to say that it's over. I want to say that it's done, but, like,
no way.
But no way, right? Like, that's what I mean. No way. Because we've known this. It's like we haven't wanted to talk about it.
Well, I don't think you can stop. This is kind of what I was talking about with the Ferrari example. Like, you're not going to stop people aspiring to something that is considered out of reach, right? Or prestigious. If Ferrari costs $300,000 and only a couple people can afford a Ferrari per year, right? You're still going to have people aspiring to be a part of that activity because they like chasing the aspiration. So whether it's, you know, if all of these brands came crashing down and, you know, people stopped buying them and all the rest of it, it would just be replaced by new aspirational brands that people would start the process all over again, because businesses are going to charge what they can get for a product. And that's going to continue to escalate. And as that continues to escalate, people are going to opt in or opt out. Not everybody can afford a $20,000 bag. But for the people who can, they're really excited and proud about having bought it. So knowing what it actually costs is one thing, but changing human behavior is something completely different. And I think that's where the rub is going to be. So even if I know that they're charging excessive, now I have to make a decision of, I knew that they were charging something that was excessive. I might not have known how much, but you know what? I still want to be a part of that brand. So I'm curious to see, how does that play out?
fundamentally, I agree with you. The only wrinkle in my brain is you can't order a Ferrari from AliExpress. And even, and even when you order like a Rolex from AliExpress, the weight difference of gold is different, right? But the question is, like, when you're buying a $48,000 leather bag that literally costs I guess my question is, the aspirational purchases will always be there, but will that the mystique of what branding did, do you think that we'll have those crazy of margins if that piece is blown out?
I don't think it will be. I think, okay, here's what I think. I think people have very short memories. Okay, so here's what I think. I think it will be all the hot news for a minute, and people will judge and change for a minute. And then everything will get quiet and something else will capture their attention. And then very quietly, the people who really like it will go back to it. And if those people continue to purchase and are willing to purchase, then any drop that happened in price is going to go right back up to what the market will bear. And that goes right back to my argument about the aspirational thing. I don't think any of these brands are going to close because of this. I don't think that long term, unless China does something like what I was joking about a minute ago, China Direct or whatever, and it's like, you don't care that it doesn't have the logo, you just wanted the bag, which some people will do. I mean, I think that's going to be an issue. I would worry more if I was the brand, not about people getting angry about the cost. I would worry more about China actually selling the bag without the logo, or God forbid with the logo, to a lower buyer, because that will suck the aspiration out of it. If I'm the person who created Ferrari, and a Ferrari cost me, I don't know, $100,000 to make, and I can charge $300,000 for it because the market will bear that, and I can be profitable as a company doing it, and somebody does come out with a Ferrari light and they say, hey, we're going to sell it at $200,000 or whatever, what that does is it undercuts the value of the product by turning it into more of a commodity, and that drops the price. And now the brand suffers because people who don't aspire and don't have the money to make that possible are eroding it from underneath. I know that's a weird economic argument to make.
No, it's
but
a good
I actually think that that's the bigger risk. I don't think it's that people will get angry and say, I'm never buying that again because they lied to me. They knew that there was a profit. They may not have known how much profit, but I really think that the bigger long-term problem is if the market becomes saturated or flooded, is too heavy a word for this, but if less expensive options of the exact same thing, simply minus the badge, come in mass, then the brand is going to suffer a long-term play. And I think that's probably the bigger erosion problem than just people being angry about how much something actually costs.
No, and you're right. And it's ultimately, it's like the end of the world, because when I think about when I grew up poor, and all that I wanted was like a designer bag. And now I'm an adult and I can afford a designer bag, and I don't want the designer bag because now I feel like it's like a mental illness. Like, you know what I mean? Like now I look at it and I'm like, man, are you good? Like, I'd rather go and buy like an artisanal, like handmade leather. Like Dior to me isn't cool. Like it was cool, but I also think what's an interesting piece, because I want you to move into the visibility over profitability. I think that's such a great argument, because does a brand become less visible if it's less aspirational? Like that is kind of the piece, is like, if we always knew that there was a margin, but the people who set the tone of like, this is cool, stop buying it. Do you have that visibility in order to drive the lower price? That's just kind of where my brain is at with this.
Yeah. So let's think about that for a second. So it's a great question. So let's say, for example, that the Dior people stopped buying Dior, right? Because now other people can afford it. So it's no longer cool to have it. What happens to the value of the brand? The people who were the aspirational ones that are there turn away and go to something else. And the folks that couldn't have afforded it before suddenly start buying it. It falls apart. The whole
like
thing
to me,
falls
when the
apart.
the Uber Eats delivers wearing a Louis Vuitton shirt, when I see people with money wearing Louis Vuitton shirt, I'm like, that's not cool. you're not cool. But I feel like it's the next gen. Like as like my age, the millennials get older, and we're like, are you for real? Like, is this good?
Well, so my dad was this way, and this I think is kind of to your point, but coming at it just a little bit of a different angle on the hill. My father would not wear a shirt that had a logo on it. He thought I was nuts for wanting to wear a polo or an Izod shirt. He was like, "You're cracked. Why would you pay more to advertise for
For
somebody?"
somebody else.
Yeah, for his generation, he was like he couldn't wrap his head around it. The man never owned a single thing that had a badge on it his entire life and refused to buy it if it did. Meanwhile, I was on the other side, like salivating, wanting to pop my collar with my Izod shirt because all the cool kids were popping their collars with their
Right,
Izod shirt.
gotcha.
And my
Yeah,
dad
yeah,
was
yeah.
like whacking me on the back of the head. He's like, "What's wrong with you,
You're an
boy?" Like,
idiot. Yeah.
yeah, and it reminds me of the Macklemore song, right? About like that's $50 for a T-shirt, right? Like, come on, man, pay attention. You can walk down to a thrift store if you really want the polo, and this is absolutely true. I was doing this with my daughter the other day. We went to the Goodwill store. There's a new Goodwill store that's very close to our house. And she was like, "Dad, I really want to go." And as I'm like, "Okay, fine, I'll go." And I'm perusing through the guy's stuff, and here's $100 polo shirt for $4.20. Perfectly good condition. Somebody had just had it in their closet and was like, "I never wear that," and they gave it to Goodwill. And I was like, this is smart. Like, if you want it, just go get it used, or find your way around it. But I don't know. I think the whole
No,
thing is
but you
very
know what?
silly.
To what you just said, it actually hit me really hard during COVID, because in those like early weeks when you're like, is this the apocalypse? Like,
Right.
where is this
Right.
going? I all I could do is look at all this the stuff that I had accumulated,
No,
and
your
I was
first word was right. All
yeah,
this shit I've
all the shit
accumulated.
that I've
Right.
accumulated. And I'm like, I have the newest fucking phone. I have the newest laptop. I'm like, but none of this shit is worth anything if
Nope.
there's no demand for it. And it was like the first time I really realized my own idiocracy, because like when shit hits the fan, that's why you need to save money. That's why I need
Yeah.
to have cash in the bank, because you go to the fucking Goodwill store and all the shit that was $120 2 years ago is
Uh-huh.
for $3 because there's no
Right.
demand. And it's such a complicated, I mean, obviously that's what branding is at its core and what we need to get into. But it really, when things like this happen, it really just kind of puts you in our faces, like how much we're a consumer culture without thinking.
Yeah. And I think that's a big thing. I am very much against the idea that marketing sells stuff to people that they don't need.
Yeah.
I don't believe that for a minute. I believe that people already desire. The brand's job is to say, this is what we stand for. So I'll use Volvo as an example.
Yeah.
Volvo, all cars are under the same safety requirements. Okay. They all have to
This is an
pass the same
alchemy.
thing.
Such a great point.
It's such a stupid thing. But they invented the 3-point harness. So the seat belt more or less belongs to them. Now, nobody remembers that because every car in the world now has them. But Volvo, however many years ago that was, 80 years, whatever, it was like, dude, we're all about safety. That's it. That's all we're going to talk about. Now, again, completely ridiculous. Volvo is no safer than
Hasn't won a safety award in like
yeah,
20 years or
a
something
Honda or
crazy.
a Volkswagen or anything else, by and large. And frankly, Mercedes is the one that owns it anyways. Mercedes just doesn't care about that way. But anybody who is in the marketplace who wants the safest car is going to go to Volvo. And it's going to go to Volvo because the brand said, look, when safety is your primary concern,
This
at
is your
whatever point in your life, please come see our boxes, right? And that's it. So a brand's job is not to sell stuff people don't need, because people won't buy stuff that they don't need. What they will buy is stuff that they were already interested in. And the more the brand can show, hey, we're for people who love paintings of purple cows, not purple cats. That's the other guy. Purple cows, you want purple cow paintings? We're the ones who know it. Those are the folks that are going to get all the buyers for that particular thing. This is what Volvo knows. So Volvo comes out and doesn't say they're sporty, and it doesn't say that they have great resale value, and it doesn't say that they, I don't know, do whatever. They simply say we're safe. And so they get all the people that want safety as their first thing. And I was thinking, this is an older man's argument, right? Like Volvo has been this way forever, but I'm also in my 50s. So as I look at that, I'm like, is that still true? Got on the phone with a client the other day and made that argument. She goes, that's why I bought mine. I'm like, you're 20 nothing years old. She goes, well, yeah, but I wanted a safe car. So I bought that. She goes, and all my friends tease me about it. And I was like, okay, there's validation for me that it's not an old man's
No, and the
argument.
fact
It's
their
just as
SUV
true
design
now.
is nice. Like that, I actually almost wanted to buy it too because I'm like, all I care about is I hate I my only thing that keeps me up at night is like car accidents. So like the safe, that's why I got the Mazda, because the Mazda actually won the safety award. But Volvo, I looked at them, thought they were very nice SUVs. But I also have you read Competing Against Luck?
No, but I should. Let me
It
write
is
that down.
so good. It's effectively the TED Talk. If I was to summarize it into a TED Talk, it's that the best brands, the first question or the first thing that they identify is like, what is the job to be done? And
Yeah.
Volvo is one of those case studies. Is that I guess it was sold, but to a Chinese company, an Asian company back in the 60s and 70s. I don't know.
This is
I don't know
outside
the
of my
dates.
knowledge.
Don't fact check me on it, but there was some point that there was a sale. They moved away from that safety message. And I believe that they had resold it off because the brand wasn't performing. And then when a new CEO came in, I'm like, what is the job to be done? What is and it's just another way of saying what you said is when you identify that there's a job to be done and that the job to be done is like to be the safest car. When you double down on that, people didn't even question the safety standards or the awards, is that it just solved the job to be done that the customer was looking to do. It's such a great, the way that he frames it and phrases it, it's such a fantastic way of looking at when people want to be the jack of all trades. Like they're not solving the job to be done, which is why their brand goes off track.
My favorite example of that is when Las Vegas hired the woman from Disney. This is my all-time favorite
Tell me I
example
don't know it.
of a brand that lost its way. So Vegas's thing is, their tagline now is, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas,
Yes.
which is what people had always said.
Mhm.
But the reason that it now became their tagline is because there was a time when Vegas was sort of not performing as well, or they were looking for growth or whatever. At any rate, a woman from Disney somehow got involved in the conversation. And in essence, this Disney representative said, you guys own the night part, but nobody's doing anything with the day part. Think of all the money you're throwing away. And Disney, for a hot minute, was like, that actually makes some sense. So she comes in, she goes, look, you got venues, you've got shows, you've got restaurants, you've got shopping, you've got all these activities, you've got all these hotels. You should do something during the day so that you're getting it from both sides. You get the party thing at night and you get the family thing during the day, and it's going to be great. Here's the problem. When you and your buddies are celebrating your last friend who's getting married, and you've been out until 6 a.m. on a bender, and you're stumbling back into the hotel, the last thing in the world you want to see is mom, dad, Janie, and Jimmy on their way to get Britney Spears autograph before brunch.
Totally.
And people were like, so this happened, and people stopped going. And Vegas was like, whoa, 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 where are you going? Where are you going?
Come back.
Yeah, they were like, come back, come back. So they summarily fired the woman from Disney, and they came out with this big ad campaign that was, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, which was the big mea culpa of the brand, saying, we forgot who we were for a second. Sorry. Come on, all the sin is happening. Like,
because the job to be done is the place to go to let loose. That's the job to be done.
Right. That's exactly right. So but that's my favorite story about it, because people are like, oh, well, once a brand is established, then they can just go off. No, they can't. It's a fragile relationship that's held. And it's not even a relationship, but there's a fragile expectation that exists. And you have to maintain that expectation. And the more defined it is, the better. And the more consistently you do it, the better. And businesses have forgotten that. They think it's about features and benefits and dumb shit like that. So they can't understand why they don't grow the way that they want. But the answer is, to the point you made, they're not paying attention to what problem they're solving, and therefore they wander. And they think it's about pricing, or they think it's about promotions, or they think about whatever. And all that does is erode the brand's value. And they just don't know it because they're chasing the number of the week or the month or the quarter. And it's a shame to watch. But I mean, I spend as I imagine you probably do, the majority of my time not doing creative development or strategy. It's walking leadership teams through the education process to say, you're hurting yourself. Here's how you're hurting yourself. Please see that you're hurting yourself. And, I think people have such a misperception of what advertising really is. We are therapists to the undereducated MBA, thanks Harvard, that don't understand that somebody actually has to buy from this perfect little ecosystem engine that you've done. So, all the way back to the way that MBA programs teach it, it's like, oh, come on and learn all the important stuff, operations, finance, managerial
Calculus,
things, structure, whatever. Oh, and then, yeah, there's those pesky marketing classes, but like hurry up and do those and check them off the list and then come back and talk about SWOT analysis and important stuff like that. And you see these guys coming a million miles away and they're just like marching up to the thing and they're like, I've got a case study and I've got a SWOT analysis and I'm ready to go. And I'm like, you don't know dick. Sit down, shut up, and you might accidentally learn something. Like, you have to appeal to those people. And they're like, well, if we make a great product, it'll appeal. I'm like, no, it won't. And it's the hardest part of the job, in my opinion, to stay fresh and not get jaded or cynical at people or frustrated flat out who don't get this and are so focused on, I'm going to make a better mousetrap. I'm going to make a better mousetrap. I'm like, look at Liquid Death. They just became a $1 billion valuated company for putting water in a can. Find me the innovation in that. You can't. It's all a brand story. And that's what people respond to. And the more we can get that across, the better. But I swear, 2,000 TikTok videos in talking about this stuff every day. No one's any smarter for it than they were when I started. So it's definitely pushing a rock uphill.
I've just got a small tear that I got that on camera because it was just so good. So good.
Yeah, man.
It was so good. I was just over here in the back of the Phantom One. I hope all the audience listeners are gonna be like, Bill Harper. No, because you're so right. Like, okay, conversations derailed. Let's just complain about the MBAs and branding because they're truly killing brands. Liquid Death is such a perfect example because it's creative founder owned.
Yeah.
And the average, I'm sure you have the same experience. They're like, I love your TikTok videos. I'm going to hire you. It's another big brand whose name you know. And then I come in and they're like, we got a social issue. We're shadow banned. Our socials are performing. I'm like, no, you like nobody cares about your ad that's on TikTok. Like, you can't buy our attention anymore. Like, you actually have to show up and you actually have to try.
I think that this is the same cyclical thing that we were talking about with like my dad and the shirt logos, and then following generations wanting to show off their brand. I think that this goes up and down and up and down. So I remember, to steal a line from a comic, gather around the Snapchat and I'll tell you a story. I remember before the internet was here, and the traditional model was that there were 3 pieces to this puzzle. There was an ad agency, there was a PR group, and there was a media company. And just like the 3 bears, like, this was the trio forever of branding. And then along came banner ads. And the second a banner ad hit the world, RØDE was born. You can buy this ridiculously small size, which still why are there 728 by 90 banners in the world anymore?
Couldn't answer. It's caused a lot of frustration and gray hair on my head.
Why 320 by 50 banner? Shoot the person. The reason that those banner sizes exist was because when you had dial-up, that was all the bandwidth there was. There is no reason for anything short of a page takeover at this point in time. None whatsoever. These little ridiculous banners. And by the way, for those of you who follow Harvard math, banner ads get 1 out of 1,000 people clicking, and 50% of those were trying to hit the little X to make it go away. Okay, that's 1 in 1,000. I could run the most boring direct mail ever.
And do better.
1 to 3%. Now, it does not take a Harvard MBA to sit and understand that that's 1 to 3,000% better. And yet, the draw, the siren song, the opioid addiction of our generation in this industry, of ROAS, the crack addict-like behavior of ROAS is so strong They would rather run dumb shit that will never work than they would to run stuff that will, simply because they can track it. They would rather track failure than they would to have the ambiguity of ROI. And that truth is the hardest part of the industry right now. And it's what's crushing brands. Show me that it works. I'll show you your business grows. But that's not enough. I have to know that when I ran a print ad, it did this many things. Along then comes QR codes. They'll scan it, but people aren't going to take the time to scan a QR code. It's a fraction of the people. So the people who do marketing have a really pretty arduous road, ahead of them that is paved with broken glass and shattered dreams, because the thing they're trying to do, which is to tell a great story, is the last thing in the world the clients that they have want them to do on their behalf. It is the great conundrum of our industry.
Yeah, totally. Honestly, I just keep thinking.
I'm getting that second tier, man. I'm going for that second tier on the other side.
Yes, there's just podcast is over. We got it all. We just no. I agree. I agree. I think that for me, it's just I'm so glad I'm not alone. Like I feel like I'm in this clown house where people are watching our content and they're like, I love what you say. I love your perspective. I love your point. But bottom of the funnel, man, it's really working for us.
Right. And you're like, no, it's not. So
no,
I was not.
You can just measure it.
I was at a digital summit 2 years ago. And at the very end of the last day, like the 4:30 session on the Friday where nobody goes, LinkedIn did a thing. I have slides from it that I took pictures of from the audience because you knew damn well they weren't going to share it. And they came out and very quietly had this nice woman that stood up in the front of this room with the 100 that were still left that were sitting there. And she said, performance marketing doesn't actually work. She said,
and it was during the coffee break when they bring the free
right,
patient.
Yeah. So everybody else is at the bar. Everybody else from the conference is at the bar. And she's in there and she goes, here's Nielsen reports that prove it. Here's our data that proves it. Here's something else. They were literally going slide by slide and saying performance marketing absent awareness marketing, absent visibility in a more profound way, can only reach 8 to 10%, and it's really more like 5 to 8. So they're like, this hoax that they've been selling about bottom of the funnel is going to work because it's shooting fish in a barrel. These people have already self-identified. They're at the moment of decision. All you have to do is stand there with your harpoon, and these fish are going to swim into the barrel, and you're going to stab them, and it's zero waste. The zero waste argument is such a load of crap because nobody buys a brand that they don't know. If I say, hey, Camille, do you want to buy a Honda or a RØDE? Your answer is going to be Honda every time. When I say why, you're going to say, because I've never heard of a RØDE. And yet, for whatever reason, business owners are like, oh, no, but the fish are in the barrel. And I'm like, there's a billion fish out there. You got 6 fish in this barrel and you're satisfied with that? And they're like, ROAS. It's
literally
whack them on the head. I'm like, stop.
The whole concept of a brand is the absence of anxiety. That's a whole other thing too to dig into.
I haven't heard that before. That's a new. I like that.
Really? Wow.
No, that's a new phrase.
About time. 36 minutes in.
The absence of anxiety.
Yeah, who's taking a note, everybody? I can't.
Wow, I love that. That's great.
Well, it's the idea that especially with all these Amazon brands, right? It's actually a passage in my book. That's not out yet, but the whole concept is, to your point, you brought up a much funnier word, but there's this brand on Amazon, true story, and it's called continue.us. So it's continuous, but you know how the Amazon brands, they always come with it's you didn't even try, you didn't spend 5 minutes, it's right. So clearly an Amazon brand. And when I was searching digital TVs, and I'm like, the whole point, and Rory Sutherland talks about this more prominently, that you buy what you trust because you've had all of those data points. And that's what most people miss, especially in the digital age, is that you have to show up and invest in your audience, because it's not it's not the harpoon. It's not, they see the fish, they need but they need to date. They
Yeah.
need to like get to know you. They need to like see what you're about. And that's why people are so delusional with, whether it comes to content, whether it comes to marketing, whether it comes to investing in your community. Like you have to keep showing up.
Yeah.
And I do want you to touch on your point, because I think it's brilliant, your visibility over profitability, because it's so much clearer for the average person.
Yeah, my belief is that if you're not visible, you can't be profitable the way you need to be. Like, yeah, and this is the problem, right? Everybody makes a little money because there are early adopters out there that will limp along with your business. And then what happens is this super stupid transition where they start protecting what they have and they stop playing to win and they start playing it safe. And they're protecting mediocrity and they don't understand that they're protecting mediocrity. So it's like, we have some buyers, and I'm like, yes, but the task now is to go to the masses. Like you've locked in your early adopter, your small group, your 10-15% that are like early adopter. Now you have to become visible to become profitable with the masses. You got to change. And it's like the change in thinking from getting to 1 million is different than getting to 10 million, and 10 million is different than getting to 100, and 100 is different than getting to a billion. And they are each psychological changes in how you function as a business in order to achieve that kind of growth. But the founder mentality is like so dialed in about what they believe, it's really hard to shake them loose, and they just don't think visibility is important. Now, when I used to be kind of shy about it, but I'm not anymore. Now I'm like, look, here's this example with the Honda RØDE thing. Like, does that make sense to you? And if that one doesn't, I got another one. And if that one doesn't, I got another one. And I just keep coming after them until finally they're like, okay, so what you're saying is right. And then at that moment, we start to make some traction. But it's a hard argument. It's a super hard argument because the behavior they do as a consumer is so different than the behavior that they do as an owner or a representative of the
Yes.
company. And it's really hard to shake them of those two things.
Well, it's also there's so much randomness, but also unconscious priming that has happened that makes your buying decision as a consumer. That's like, to your point, like when you get people to step back and really think about it. And that's why I also tell people, like, you really have to study content. Like the people are just like ambiently consuming the world. They're not studying the decisions and what they've been primed to make. But it also ultimately it also comes down to the dollar for today versus the dollar for tomorrow.
That's a great point.
And it's a lot of business owners don't want to risk what they have now because of the risk of they don't know what it's going to be.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So what things are you most interested in now as a marketer? Where is your interest lie? Where do you want to push brands right now? What do you think is the biggest problem to be solved for businesses that want to grow that you're working with?
The issue is that they're thinking in terms of marketing when they need to be thinking in terms of branding. Like they don't understand the variable of time. Like our concept of timing in branding is what's lost, because like they want every single post to have an ROI. They want every single the human brain can't conceptualize, especially busy business owners, if they're even investing in their own brand, that taking the time, the 10-15 minutes to show up to that post and to put it out there and for it to get 100 views, they can't understand how that's going to compound in 3, 4, or 5 years. So the cost payoff of investing in a brand, like just to have pay influencers that have 1 million followers to show up to do a post versus investing in your community that you can't see that direct immediate ROI is kind of the piece that I'm trying to put into their brain, is like, stop looking for perpetually higher quarters. Look to build a brand that's going to last, because that's what you need.
Yeah, the argument I use on that all the time is going to the gym. It's the only one I've found that they can kind of wrap their, at least that I've been able to use, that they can wrap their head around. It's like, I don't know what day you go to the gym that you start seeing the result. I can't tell you that. So the ROI on going to the gym is that you know it's gonna happen. That's your ROI.
Yeah.
You just don't know when. I can't say you're suddenly gonna see the vein in your bicep 17 days and 3 hours into going to the gym. What I can say is every day you don't go consecutively, that date gets pushed out. That's what I can tell you, because that is the piece that I know. And that's the only example that I've found that even begins to get a ring of resignation. Like, oh, okay. So it's not just that I ran something. I mean, I can't tell you how many clients I've had over the years that run an ad and it goes and they're like
Didn't work. You suck. What the heck?
yeah, where's the return? And I'm like, you ran an ad. It's been out 3 days. What were you expecting? Growth. And I'm like,
No,
that's not how that works.
no, honey. No, like if it was that easy, imagine how hard it would be. Like
Everybody would be rich. Like I ran an ad, and this is my favorite thing for the doom scrollers, are the ones that you sit there and they're like they're these videos of people supposedly watching their e-commerce, their at-home e-commerce jammy stores blow up, and they're like, oh my gosh, I used insert app here to buy my media, and like I got $2,000 the first day and $30,000 the next day, and now I'm making $100,000 a week. And I'm like, bullshit, you are. There's no, like, I don't care if you're selling free puppies and crack cocaine, you're not getting that kind of a return in that kind of time running stuff on a single ad in this environment that is a literal river, an ocean of advertising that is falling all over everybody. So I don't know. I think that that's another part of it, is that there's so much false promise that's happening in social media now about so easy. All you got to do is 3 steps to blah, blah, blah. And I think that the desire for it to be true is just so strong. Like I want her to like me, right? So if I just put on
just try it, maybe she's gonna like
I just put on this t-shirt, she's gonna see I'm cool. Like it's almost that kind of like junior high boy mentality.
It is,
and that's exactly what it feels like. And it's you gotta be charming for longer than that.
It actually. I feel like what it clicked when we were talking is like I can understand why kind of like the Gary Vee at this point in his career like gets a bit aggressive in his message.
Mhm.
Like I think that it actually like I finally get it, because it's interesting. There's on one hand, it's like you don't really want it if you're not showing up, but two, you also it's also not really about wanting something that's superficial. Like it shouldn't be about just all the money. Like it should actually be about the purpose. And that's like the new way I'm kind of approaching it is, if you want 1 million followers, like to truly have 1 million followers, that's actually worth something. Like it shouldn't be just going to 0 to 1 million in 30 days. Like that means that what you're actually looking for has no meaning if it's that easy. And we've lost sight of like the meaning of what it means to have something great. And that's why I love studying like the Trader Joe's case studies and the Four Seasons case studies. It's like we just feel like we're in this copy paste world where like, you can just post for 15 days and then you're going to be this like most, but then on the other hand, the thing that is positive and exciting is if you actually are showing up and posting every single day on the internet, you are a part of such a small pool of people and things that if you can just get past the like, you feel dumb, you look stupid in the beginning, not every video is going to hit. And that's what I loved about your page, is that I feel the same way. I do the same thing. Like if I put out a video and it doesn't do gangbusters, like I keep it there. I feel like so many creators remove stuff that isn't like over a certain threshold. And I'm like, I'm not here to make it look like I'm big. I'm just here to show up every day to give value.
Oh yeah, if you look at some of the original ones and even some of the recent ones, like they're horrendous. Like some of them
Same, and it's okay.
They're just totally shitty. But I mean, here's the thing. Let's say you got to 1 million. Like somebody the other day stopped me and they were like, "You have 160,000 followers." And then they said the most ridiculous thing: "You're TikTok famous." And I burst out laughing. I said, "There are 370 million people in the United States. I'm not a rounding error. My voice is completely unheard. You think for 1 second I have any influence on this? Like, I have 160,000 people that are listening, and that's it. Like, that's not even like. I mean,
you have 160,000 business owners. I think that. But before we move on from that, that's a very important piece. Is that people look to numbers opposed to impact.
Yeah, but even so, like, is anybody losing sleep because they missed a Bill Harper TikTok video? Absolutely,
No.
Positively not. Like, and that's why I think it's funny. Like, the ridiculousness of fame. My father was a disc jockey, so I was around singers all the time because he was on the radio, right? So I saw people that were famous, so that didn't hold quite the same thing for me that I think it did for other people. I mean, I was still ooh and not every once in a while, but by and large, mostly they were just people that were really good at something. And so like there was that. I've got people that will get on a discovery call with me and they're like shell shocked. They look at me, they're like, oh my gosh, like, I can't believe I'm talking to you. And I crack up. I'm like, you've got to be kidding. Like seriously.
But that's
That's
also
just
how
funny.
powerful the perception though of showing up is. Like the phone is the modern day TV screen.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
You know, like, but I also think what's super crazy too, as like an upside, is like I've met some of my greatest friends on the internet. I freaking love the internet.
Yeah, right.
Like I find it's always Paisan. I'm like, oh my god, Paisan. Like here's another one. Like I've got a much better life through the screen. I actually had a friend of mine that moved to London, England for a hot minute. She came back and we were catching up, and she's like, so like, who do you talk to these days? And I'm like, well, haven't really thought about it, but since you are in real life and you've known me since university, all my friends are internet friends. And I kind of,
they're at work. There's a screen.
yeah,
We
you know,
connect. Yeah.
I really love them. And I was like, you know, I never really thought about it until I was like questioned by, you know, a past version of me. But she was like, didn't even laugh at me. She goes, it actually makes perfect sense. Like I totally get it. But it's such a funny phenomenon when you transition to the digital world.
Yeah, it really is. And to your point, the reach is the thing that surprised me most. That was like, I got on, I'm sure you've heard me talk about this, but I got on to prove to somebody that TikTok wouldn't work for me. Like, that's
no
why
way. I don't know the story. Tell me your story.
Yeah. So the guy, Tom Lotriciano, is a guy that
What a
sold
name.
his business. Yeah. Right. That's, I got another one for you that's even better. But anyway, so Tom sold his business. He's a little older than I am, maybe 8 or 10 years older than I am. And he consults now. And I have shared office space where our agency is. And one day he walks into my office and he's like, Bill, I really think you should go on TikTok. And I literally laughed him out of my office. I was like, get out of here. Like, I don't even let my kids on TikTok. The teenagers shaking their ass. I'm like, get out of here. And he kept coming back and he was like, no, you really should get on. I think you'd be good at it. I don't think you understand the platform. You really should be good at it. And eventually he came to me, he said, I've got this seminar that I'm going to do. Please come. I've got a guy that's TikTok famous that's going to tell us how to do it. I started laughing. I was like, what the hell is TikTok famous? He's like, he recreated MTV, whatever the one was where they put all the kids and the alcohol together in the same room and then watch them devolve into,
I don't know.
whatever. Anyway, I've forgotten what it's called. Real life. That was it. So anyway, he was like, he recreated the real life and it blew up and he's got like 1 million followers or whatever. And like, he understands how social media works. And so I went to go see it. And what I finally realized about it was that there was some kind of a story aspect to it. Like the way he had done it was episodic. And so he likes
It was like short form. It's like totally like for the brain. It's like quick to the point.
But he also showed me a guy who was using a crappy camera, unboxing aftermarket turbo kits for trucks, who had like 500,000 followers.
Wow.
And it was breathtaking because I was like, really? So anyway, so Tom kept after me about it. He was like, you know, if you'll just get on. I was leaving the room and he was pointing back to this entire group of people and he goes, just get on. None of them are going to do it. And some of the people in the room were brands you would know, $50, $100 million brands. He goes, none of them are going to do this because they all think it's ridiculous. Please just show me I'm wrong. And I was like, I'll show you that you're wrong. So I got on and I did a video. And the first video got like 300 things. And boy, did he know me. I was like, well, shit, I can do better than that. So I went back on and I did another one. And that one got like 1,500 views, which at the time I didn't realize was actually
really good.
Something that people would like want to have. And the next thing you know, it was 3,000 and then it was 10,000 and then it was 15. And by that time, my phone starts ringing and people are like, hey, can you be on my podcast? Can you be on a TV segment? Can you, do this, do this? And I literally went on and made one video that said, hey, I'm going to open up this thing called Brand Boss HQ. It's for small businesses that want to use the same tools and playbook that big businesses use to create brand. And I filled 3 months of my calendar in 2 weeks.
Cool. And what was the offer?
Okay. It was just for a free evaluation. Like, I'll just sit down and talk with you for 30 minutes, take a quick look at your brand, tell you what I see. That's it. And out of that came a river of business. And so it was a totally different thing. But what got me was, okay, so here's this activity and, I'm getting all these comments and the comments were so complimentary. It was like, this is the first time marketing has made sense to me. Like I'm learning more about this than I did at college. And I was like, wow, that's like, thank you. You know, that's nice. And I told the tow truck story. And a guy from Germany saw the tow truck story, calls me and says, can I translate this into German? And I was like, knock yourself out. Yeah, go ahead. So he does, and he tags me in it. 2 months later, I have a discovery call with someone in Germany. And he gets on and he's all excited. He's talking German. I was like, I don't speak German. And he finally he goes, I was at a beer garden telling a guy I know locally about this concept that I wanted to talk to you about today, this brand I want to launch. And he says, you got to talk to this guy, Bill Harper. And he says, and he takes his phone out and shows me your TikTok. And I'm like, I know that guy. I have a meeting with him. And I said, let me get this right. You saw a video of mine in Germany and then had a conversation about me in Germany to another guy that then came back around and set a meeting. He was like, I was like, really? And about that time, everything opened up. Like I just got back from Australia where I was invited to be the keynote speaker for the Australian Distillers Conference, all because one of the distillers saw a TikTok video. That's the power of this platform. And it continues to blow me away. It
Changed your life.
Changes your life.
But can I have the tow truck story?
Yeah. So the purpose of the tow truck story is to get business leaders back in the seat of their target audience.
Okay.
And so the tow truck story goes like this. Imagine that you're on your way to something really important. Don't care. It's you're emceeing your parents' 50th wedding anniversary. It's the biggest deal of your career. Doesn't matter, whatever. But it's really important, and today's the big day. And so you're all dressed up in your Sunday best, and you've got your portfolio or your presentation or whatever. You jump in the car, you look at your watch, and you're feeling good. It's a 30-minute drive to get there, and you have an hour to do it. You're feeling like, I'm going to get there. I'm going to have 30 minutes to kill. It's going to be great. As you pull out of the garage, it's raining cats and dogs, sleet, hail, whatever. It's nasty out. And as you pull onto the highway, you pop a flat. Worst thing ever. Now, you'd normally just get out and fix the tire and on you'd go. But it's raining cats and dogs and you're in your Sunday best and you're on your way to this thing and you don't want to look like a drowned rat when you get there. So you call for a tow truck. Takes the tow truck driver 15 minutes to get there. Okay. Tow truck driver gets out of the car, walks up, knocks on the glass and says, did you order a truck? Yeah. You say, looking at your watch, I ordered a truck. He says, you made the right decision calling our towing company. See, our towing company has been in business longer than any other towing company in the world. Our hiring process is more rigorous and we've been awarded more than anybody else. Now that truck back there, we worked with Mack Truck to produce a truck nobody else has. That's proprietary for us. And the tires on there, now those are the ones that are really special. We worked with Michelin. They won't slip in water like this because your car is your second biggest investment. And we know that what's important to you is protecting that second biggest investment. We do this for you because we care about you. What are you thinking about the entire time this idiot is talking?
They're taking care of me.
Shut up and fix my tire so I
I'm
can get
like,
the
wow,
high.
this is a great experience.
Right? So now imagine the exact same thing, same truck, same everybody, only this time the guy walks up, knocks on the glass and says, did you order a truck? Yeah. You say I ordered a truck. Great. Our motto is on the road in 15 minutes or less. We know you've got things to do. And he goes to work. Who are you going to avoid like the plague? Who are you going to tell every friend about? Same company, different brand story. The first tow truck driver is 99% of businesses on the planet. The second tow truck driver is Dollar Shave Club, Poopery, Apple, Nike, Disney. The ones that know it's not about them. And that's the big difference. So this story has been copied and talked about and fortunately has kind of become a thing. But the purpose of it was designed for a meeting that I had with Blue Cross Blue Shield one day because I had 15 people in a room and I needed a way for them to understand what was going wrong with marketing, and I needed them to understand it very quickly. So.
What a great story. And you're so correct. You're
just,
so correct.
It's just easy, right?
No,
I mean, it's just an easy
guy,
story.
It's the Donald Miller story brand concept.
Yeah.
It's they want a guide. Like want to get to their event. They are the hero. They've got their story back to get back to. And they just want that solution that allows their story to get to their destination.
The only thing that matters to the person in the truck is getting unstuck. That's all anybody cares about. Make my circumstance better. That's it. That's all anybody wants. People are like plants. They're so ridiculously predictable. They lean into opportunity and comfort and away from discomfort. That's what they do all the time. So if you understand what problem you're solving, then your story becomes very simple.
What a great story, Bill Harper. I absolutely loved that. I've another question I meant to ask you. When did you get on TikTok? When did you start?
2 years and 2.5 years now. Just
And you post every day?
Just about, yeah. If not every day, a couple of times a day. I mean, at some point, I guess it was maybe a year in, we hired a team to help support it, because at that point you're talking about volume, right? And it's more than any one person can really do and maintain. So there are different video types, and I've got a small group that works with me that helps out on TikTok and Instagram, and another team that works on long format for YouTube and that kind of thing.
And how many times per day are you posting?
On which platforms?
I need to rattle them off.
YouTube, the big ones go out once a week, and the small ones are kind of a trickle off of what we do for the short forms in the other one. But like I said, now it's kind of a machine, right? Like the TikTok and Instagram is posting every day, either once or twice a day, unless I get on a rant about something, which I do from time to time. But by and large, like the machine is kind of a once to twice a day, so maybe 1.5 times a day, and then the long format is once a week.
Yeah,
and I think that will dial up more as we get the podcast going and
more clips, more content. Yeah. Do you batch your content? Like, do you do like once every 2 weeks?
Say that again. I'm sorry.
Do you batch your content? Like, do you record once every 2 weeks? Do you?
For the bigger recordings, we usually do 1 day every 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and then we'll get out of that, I don't know, 15, 20 videos that we can do. And then for the rest of the stuff, if you see me standing here or in the blue room, as everybody is now referring to it, those things are ones that I'm doing independently. Those are ones where I have an idea and I jump on, just like I did at the very beginning, and I'm just sharing an idea. The ones that are more produced, that feel like, they've got overlays and they've got, like graphics flying around and all the rest of that, that's the stuff that is batch produced.
Cool. I was just like asking how other creators approach it. We don't talk enough, like among each other of like, hey, what are you doing? I'm doing this. So yes.
What is the ideal client for you? Like, who do you like working for? And I don't know anything about your agency or your team. How do you work? Are you more consultant? Are you more agency? Like, how are you structured?
So I'm at an interesting point in my career because I really love helping people. I'm at a point where like the demand is bigger than like what I can help. So I have an agency. I had started an agency about 10 years ago. And I started young, and that did well as professional service providers predominantly. And then the content really took off. So we typically do kind of more strategy and consulting. Like, we do have designers, we have video editors. I prefer to work with people over brands, only because I like to be able to get things done. I don't like the red tape. Like, that's what I like to be able to be very candid, and I don't like to be, good idea, but so typically now I find it's kind of a funny way to say it, but I love to work with people who are aligned, and it's really like who are a part of the tribe, like who subscribe to the thinking, who really have watched a lot of content. They're not interviewing anyone else. They're like, you're my person. And I've had really great I love people, and I love people who see that I love what I do. So I've got great relationships with medical spa owners, with people that do own product-based brands, or like I work very well with my friends over here. But it's not about an industry. It's not a niche. It's like a niche and more like personality type. And I love the strategy and the consulting. I love to think. I love that I get paid to think. How about you?
Yeah, originally what I was madly in love with was coming up with stories that they shouldn't be able to afford. And that was kind of what I built my career on, was how can I give you something that looks like it should have been from Madison Avenue, but at a cost that shouldn't have been that way. And I loved doing that. I still love doing that.
That's cool.
But we went through kind of an odd thing where what people really appreciated was the strategy. Like they have less appreciation for the art of it now
Yes.
than they do for the strategic thinking of it now. So
Yes.
a lot of what we do is the development from research and strategy through brand development and creative directions. There's less of the big bring it to life thing.
Yeah.
It's not to say that we don't do it. I would say about 60% of the clients that we work with
Same here.
convert,
Yeah.
but there's, that 40%. Had we talked 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago, it would have been 100% campaign work. Like at that time, everybody we were working with was 25 million to 250 million. They were all campaign. They were all 5 million plus in media spend.
Oh,
And
wow.
it was all focused on that. This transition has been really interesting. And I find that the zone that you work in to be really hot right now. It's not one that I happen to serve, but I think it's really interesting to see the gig economy thing and the smaller, like when I say smaller business, I mean like
No, not
single
the 25.
location,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
small, yeah, like that solopreneur kind of thing or very small team, like 3 to 5 people. There seems to be such a demand for, hey, how can I get my business to work? And I've been thinking about creating something that's a bridge between marketing and business because I I
That's
can't
what I do.
imagine that
You
you
have
don't
to.
you have to
You
talk
have
about
to.
both.
Like,
Yeah,
you don't understand if your operations aren't set up, if you don't have it, like, it can't help you. Like, you could have the nicest logo and the greatest socials, but like, it's not the
right.
problem.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's been the interest lately is how can we get them? I'm thrilled to hear that this generation has finally decided to invent story for themselves so that now we can talk about it again.
Yeah.
But story used to be, and then story lost to tactics. And now story's coming back out again because so many people are using the same tactics. It's like a new lane that's open on a toll road. It was great for 5 minutes, but then it became filled just like every other thing. So now that tactics aren't doing their job anymore, like, okay, now we have to go back up to differentiation. So you can't avoid that. Yeah, there's an early to market thing, but the sliver of time that's advantageous to a business is so small. So I think it's great that this is happening, and frankly, I hope that it continues. But I also see that a tremendous amount of people were fired or downsized or whatever, and those people are all jumping into this gig economy thing where it's like, well, hey, I have a skill that I can do. I'll become a consultant. I'll become a this. I'll become a that. And they have zero understanding of how to market themselves. They have every understanding of how to do the skill that they were hired to do for the big
Yes.
entity, but they have none of the surrounding support structure anymore. So I think that there's a tremendous amount of brass tack. This is what you have to have in place in order to function well. And I watch this all the time. I was on the phone the other day with a guy who's working 80 hours a week. He's got a video business. He's serving too many audiences in too many different ways. It's yanking his business all over the place. And I literally just like picked it apart. I was like, you're working in the business, not on the business. You're working 80 hours a week. You're doing this. You're serving too many people. You don't have a productized way to think about your dollar thing. And like his mouth was open. He was like, how do you do that? I'm like, because I've seen you 800 times this week. Like
Yeah.
I see it again and again and again. This is not new. You're not different than anybody else. Your business is the same messy room that their business is. And I think like Traction, EOS or eMyth or these fundamentals have just been missed by the groups that specialized in something and then tried to build a business on it, and they can't figure out why it doesn't work. They're like, but I'm good at this. And I'm like, yeah, but what you're not good at is telling people the right way that you're good at it.
Yes.
And so I think you guys, I'm not surprised at all that you have a flood of inbound, because I think that there's just so much demand for what you're doing right now.
No, it works well, but it also is also a great joy of life because people that, to your point, that are the best at what they do are the worst at marketing themselves.
Yeah.
Like they're so good at, they can't do the tow truck story.
Yeah.
They're talking about their credentials. They're talking about things that like, I'm in the rain. I'm soaking wet. I don't give a fuck. Like, just
Right.
get me where I need to go. Like,
My-
get me out of here. You know,
My
like,
car is on the side of the road.
like, come
50 miles
on.
per
I
hour,
don't,
man.
let's stop
I got
talking
this.
about it. I'm gone. I'm going to
Yeah.
call the next person. But my last question for you, Bill, I ask only the brightest, only the best.
Oh, you tell that to all the boys.
Only the best. What is a brand to you?
A brand is an expectation of what's to come.
You were the most confident answer. I kid you not, I went for a dinner with Rory Sutherland, and he was like, I don't even answer that question because he's like, I feel like I can't answer it. The word brand is too overwhelming. It's like, I try to avoid it at all costs. You just did that with so much confidence. One of one.
It is
You're one of
simply
one.
if I go to a James Bond movie, I know what I'm going to get because I already have an expectation of what the brand will deliver. I know when I go to an Eddie Murphy concert, I'm going to laugh. I know if I see a Meryl Streep movie, she's going to cry. I know these things because these brands are established and they have set an expectation. And if you just simplify it down to say, you need to set an expectation, and the only way you can set an expectation is to tell a story consistently. That's it. For all the things we do in our business, that's it. So the faster that you know the story, then the more consistently you can tell it, then the faster you establish the expectation, the faster that you're a brand. And if people really like the expectation, they'll pay more for it and they'll come back to it more often. That's it. Ta-da. Like that's the end. Like there is no simpler way to boil this off that I can tell. And I'm endlessly jealous that you and Rory Sutherland got together. I would love to connect with him. He cracks me up. I just everything about his presentation and his background and like how he does it all the way down to like the buttons over his like it's just he's like
all time. Like he's all time.
Real
He's
time
all time.
hobbit, and it's
Yes.
just like the coolest thing in the world. Like I just love that guy, and I've never even met him. I just think he's awesome.
Literally the best. I'll make sure that I'm going to set up like a branding roundtable. I'm percolating it. I think that could be like a lasting legacy. But the last thing that's just so funny about Rory is he is the king of the vape. So he'll have like 3 of them around his, like he wears them as like lanyards and like with his like very like Oxford like button look. And he like will be like everything that it's just like watching him on YouTube, but he just doesn't stop. I'm like, dude, like how is this you? And he's like hiding it like at the restaurant. Like that's just
hysterical.
It's too funny. It's too funny. Well, I mean, this is happening again. This isn't goodbye. This is see you later.
No, this is video friends for life. No, this is a good thing. And
I gotta let Andrea know. I got another one, Andrea. I got another screen friend. Bill, where can people find you? Give us all of the places where they can find you and they can access you.
Yeah. So the fastest way is TikTok at Brand Boss HQ. And inside the bio is a link tree to everything, everywhere, for everybody, all the time. Or if you want to go to brandbosshq.com, then you can see the website. But I think the best stories are YouTube, TikTok, and then if you want just straight information, go to the website.
That's amazing. Bill, thank you so much for joining. I've loved having you.
Thank you very much. This was a great fun. I look forward to the next one. It'd be a good time. This was such a great treat. I really appreciate it, and I love the work that you put up. Let me know if there's anything that I can be doing. We'll jump on live. We can do this again whenever you'd like. It's great fun.